All right, everybody. Thank you for showing up. Welcome to class 4. Can't believe it already. This is our halfway point, you can imagine, of tonalism. And today we're going to be talking a lot about color theory, just different ways to think about color. I've set up 6 different little tiny color wheels, and we're just going to be playing and just seeing what happens if we only use one red, one yellow, one blue, or even better, what happens if we use one reddish, one yellowish, and one bluish color. What if mixing perfection is not the goal, but literally good enough is good enough, and we're just trying to get the feel and the atmosphere? I think this is really going to be liberating for a lot of you. I'm going to start doing the color wheel by showing the colors I started with, which, you know, you guys are probably going to want to have a pen and paper ready. And if anybody's really good at taking notes, it would be fantastic if you could share these with the class, because I'm looking at you, Lisa. Because I will be talking and experimenting, so writing all of this down, because I actually want to take suggestions from you guys. So I'm going to start with a very simplistic, a red, a yellow, a blue. Then I'm going to share the Zorn palette, which is a very famous palette that Anders Zorn used. And it's so amazing to see the colors he did. I really suggest you guys go and look at his work. But the very truth of it is nobody really knows what colors he was using in each painting. Or he didn't use the famous Zorn palette in a lot of his paintings. It's very obvious that he was using some greens and things and other colors. But the idea is that he took blue away and used black instead. He used yellow ochre, which is a very dirty, you know, kind of brownish yellow. And then he used cadmium red, like I think it was Vermilion red. Is that the right color name? But anyways, I don't care about the exact Zorn palette. But what I've learned by playing with it, experimenting with it, and trying out my own different versions is that having a yellowish color, a reddish color, and a bluish color, even if it's black or gray, is amazing. And what happens is the less colors we use on our palette, the easier it is to create a harmonious feeling. So, you know, I typically use what's called a split primary palette, 2 reds, 2 yellows, 2 blues, and a white. And I know that I'm not going to be able to create the most vivid purples or the most vivid, you know, oranges, but all color is relative compared to the colors next to it. So you guys, I hope, are going to be amazed at like how using like a Payne's gray all of a sudden will read as a blue. So my thoughts for today is to do a couple quick color wheels, see how dark of colors we can create a little value structure based on those, and then do a quick demo painting, and then get to our looking at your guys' work if you have work to share. I haven't been to Padlet too much lately. But does that sound good? I want to check in. Last week we did the critiques last. And I think that worked out really well, because a lot of people have to, you know, have actual lives and leave the class at the right time. I think we went 1 hour long last week, which is pretty normal, unfortunately. But just a quick, how did that feel last week doing the demo first?
It was good.
Oh, good.
It was good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I vote
Good.
yes.
So I'm trying to mentally incorporate the lesson into the demo more, so that we're not wasting as much time doing that. So I'm already gonna just jump up to the easel and do a couple color wheels. I've literally set up to do 6 of them. one of them, the last one I want to do, and maybe the paint colors I want to do the painting in today, is crazy. It's you guys have been talking a lot about green gold. I bought a couple tubes of it last week, and boy, I hate hearing all your guys' good ideas because I instantly run out and spend more money. But green gold is a really weird color. I spent actually time trying to figure out how I would make it so I don't have to buy it in the future. So that's a lot of times what I do. If I find a color that's really interesting, I try to discover, can I make that color from the colors I already use? So
Did you
we'll
able
talk
to
about
make
that a
it?
little bit. What's that?
Did you able to make it, the green gold?
Very close. We'll try a little experimenting and see what you think.
Uh, I thought
Yeah,
that color
so
cannot be replicated. But
what's
yeah,
that?
I heard that is the color cannot be replicated, like cannot be mixed because the metallic sheen and all the stuff underneath, like when you mix with whites and stuff. But
And that's always true. Like any color that, you know, is being made, or especially singular, single, like colors that come from a single element or a single thing, you can't really mix them exactly, but I don't care to mix colors exactly.
Right.
I just need them to be close. So the truth is, I experimented using ultramarine blue and Indian yellow to make it. That didn't work. And then I found with my manganese blue hue and Indian yellow, I was super close. Like literally just putting them side by side in a pile, they looked almost identical. I'm sure their working qualities are different. That same thing with like cadmium orange, which is a single pigment color, right? But I rarely need the most vibrant version of orange. Like, I mean, besides now it's pumpkin season, maybe I need it. But really, it's close enough is close enough. I don't want to have 37 colors because, or 100 colors, because as I learn more and more about colors, you know, you got all these purples that are so specific. You've got so many iterations of all these colors. I just have to keep believing that good enough is good enough, or I can make it get the effect I want. But truthfully, Hassan, it is a gorgeous color. It does some really interesting things. I can't wait to share a little bit of some of the experimentation. And like I said, this is a little preview for our final chaos at the end, my demo. I want to do green gold as my yellow. I want to do vibrant pink as my red, and Payne's gray as my blue.
Oh, yike.
Right? Yeah, I know. I'm already terrified.
I have a question. You mentioned, you know, as an example, you used a list of a variety of purples. Have you ever just fooled around and used every purple you've got and just do a purple with white and purple with black or something like that?
I have never, no. I did your challenge, what was that, last semester or 2 semesters ago, where it was purple and yellow.
Uh-huh.
Just
I
because
like
they
that.
are opposites on the color wheel, so they kind of fight each other. And that was a lot of fun. But the truth is I never pursued it further, but that might be an interesting. So I could ask you that, Gail. If I was to use a purple as one of my colors on the color wheel, would it take the red or the blue space? Probably depends on the purple, but
It would depend on the subject matter, I think. Because
yeah,
the only purple I've got.
purple.
I'm sorry.
I was going to say dioxazine purple.
Yeah,
is one of the most popular purples.
yeah.
And I found it to be very strong, at the same time very weak. Like it dies down as soon as it meets another color.
Yep.
And I find that to be true with almost all transparent colors. Is that they die really quickly, except for some reds, and Indian yellow is really strong. But that gold green, I found it to die away really quickly. Like I found it, if I mixed another color with it, it disappears into the mix very quickly. So I'm always curious about that, and always have a lot of fun. I like to have a mix of transparent and opaque colors, or, you know, semi-transparent, semi-opaque colors on my palette. So anyways, you guys ready to get up to the easel and see what kind of methods we can make?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So let me
And
go.
Michael, don't forget to spotlight yourself so we don't pop
Thanks so
around.
much. All right, so I've made 2 pages like this. This is Arch's oil painting paper. I just literally took a piece of a roll of tape with a permanent marker, outlined it, and then used a ruler and made some lines so that we could experiment. I like using permanent markers, that black, just because it helps me to see the transparency or opacity of the color as I'm testing.
Oh, interesting.
So for those of you who are more interested in doing higher chroma or more colorful paintings, which is fine, even though this is a tonalist class, I'm not going to be scared of color. And for those of you who really like color, I want you to, you know, feel free to use it. So this first palette that I'm using is kind of the right out of college. One of my instructors challenged me to use less color, and I was still a brand new painter. I mean, barely into it. So the first color, and I'm almost always going to put my yellow on top, my reds on this side, and my blues over here. And what it allows for, and I'll just kind of load that up, put a nice little dab of paint so that I've got enough to spread it towards the blue side, spread it towards the red side. That makes sense?
What yellow is that, Michael?
I think that's Donald Trump's hair yellow.
Oh, no.
I don't know why I just thought of that. Sorry.
It looks
What
like
yellow is this one? This is a cadmium yellow light.
yellow light.
I need to put the orange to match the yellow hair.
Oh, there you go. We'll get there. And then I've got a bit of cadmium red. So cadmium yellow light, cadmium red, medium or light would work. And I'm just going to keep picking up. I loaded up I just grabbed a whole bunch of brushes. So hopefully I won't spend all my time cleaning, but I don't have enough brushes to do all these experiments. And then this other corner is going to be ultramarine. All right. So when we think of these colors, and then white, always whatever colors I'm using and white. So it'd be 3 colors plus white. So the cadmium yellow light is really quite yellow. Really, it doesn't seem to lean too much, you know, towards the reds or towards the yellows. But in truth, it leans a little more towards the greens because it's considered a cooler color. Whereas if I used a cadmium yellow medium or a cadmium yellow deep, it'd be much more towards the orange side. So you can see this is a pretty good range. The blue is very dark, which is going to come in useful here in just a second. So if I kind of come across and start mixing,
Cool.
right, you can see that I get some green-ish colors.
Mhm.
But it's not a bright, you know, vibrant green. And that's because my ultramarine is a blue that leans towards purple a little bit. It has a touch of red. So that red instantly contaminates this greenish color and makes it a little more olivey. Let me move it in a little closer so you can see a little better.
Oh, that's good.
Right? It's not a pure green. But the truth is, this is a green I see in nature more often than a vibrant spring green.
Yeah.
Already trying to figure out how I'm going to keep these colors clean here. So I'm just going to take this red and I'm going to bring it up. So I've got a quite warm red, you know, orangey red. So I'm going to bring that into my yellows. And it should make quite nice oranges.
Pretty.
All right. So some of you are already clever enough and you're just like, yeah, but what's going to happen here? Got an orangey red and a purpley blue. So you see, that is not purple. It is a very, very dark color. Oftentimes I'll pull in a little bit of white just to lighten that color. And see, like, once I get to the where the purple should be between the two, it's purple-y, right? Purple-ish, but it's very grayed down. It's already been neutralized because of the yellow and the red. And so we're already mixing a lot of colors. But what this color palette does is allows for very bright colors, you know, brighter oranges, nice light greens, horrible purples, right? But it allows for a lot of range. So for those of you who are trying to find a limited palette that can do a lot, actually choosing a yellow or yellow, a red or redder, and a blue or blue, I could have used cobalt, which may, you know, is more of a in the middle blue. That may have given me a little more range. Another one is Prussian blue, which I don't experiment with and haven't really tried, that a lot of people use. But what I do like about this palette, I'm busy cleaning my brush here as I'm talking, is I'm going to take quite a bit of that blue, touch of the red, and a teeny tiny touch of the yellow. So what I've done is created the worst purple possible and just a touch of yellow to neutralize that, and I can make a very dark color.
That's a good shadow light.
Yeah, it's a great, I mean, that's the big thing is when you're using a limited palette, a lot of times getting a dark is really difficult. So this palette was almost chosen because of the fact that I could make almost what would appear to be a black, right? If I take that and I scrub it across so that it's getting thinner, you can see in my version of it, it's pretty blue. I could have added just a touch more red and made it warmer. I can take a touch more yellow and make it, you know, greener or oranger. But that's a really good way to test it. Another great way, so let's just make that pile again. I can already tell this one's going to be a little bit redder. So maybe I'll add a little more blue to bring it back to that same thing. I'm going to do the same thing. This one's even darker. And I'm going to bring some white into that. Let me grab a palette knife. I'm not contaminating my little bit of white I have over here. I'm going to grab a pile of that white, put it on this other side. Beautiful grays, right? I mean, those are really quite neutral, right? And you can see how if I added just a little red to it, could warm that up. So it's a dark that I can doctor up very easily. This color scheme I worked with for 1 full year, and I still go back to some of those paintings, and I just love. It's really easy to create a sense of harmony when you use a limited palette. So why I wanted to share this one is it's a very vibrant limited palette. Yeah. But I can still neutralize the colors really well. To neutralize colors, we really just want to think about mixing across that color wheel. So my dark purple here mixed with a bit of yellow will make a very dark color, or neutralize. So if this yellow that I've made is too bright, I can simply think, what's the color across the wheel, and add just a touch of that. Same thing with my greens. So to mix, you know, beautiful earthy greens, a lot of the time, let's just do a let's just do another little line here. And a little more yellow just to make it a little more obvious. Right, now watch, I'll add some red to the other side, and watch what happens as they meet up more and more. Is they just die down, they become grays and neutralized. That makes sense?
Yeah.
So look in this area, I mean, that's much more beautiful to me than that or that. But that, again, that's just my personal taste. I like subtle, grayed down, neutralized colors. That's how I see nature more. But that doesn't mean I'm right. If your, you know, taste runs more on this outside gamut, and you just like much more what I call fiesta versus siesta colors, that's fine. It's just about knowing yourself. And if you like more exciting colors, this palette or a version of it, it doesn't have to be exactly this blue, this yellow, or this red. But having vibrant colors will give you more options. If your colors are getting out of hand, or if you really want to lean in towards tonalism, since you know you're in the class, you may want to consider doing something where you're using alternate versions of red, yellow, and blue. Again, what I want you to think of when we're pulling out these palettes is reddish, yellowish, blue-ish. So let's try the Zorn palette. I shared the handout with you guys. So Zorn, I don't even remember what black he uses. I think it's Mars Black, which I don't even own. So I'm just going to pull out Ivory Black.
It already looks blue. When you pull the palette knife, the light reflected on it, it was blue.
For Zorn's red, he uses, let me just make sure I squeezed out the right color here. He uses a naphthol red. May have put out the wrong color, so I'm just going to use that little dab there. He uses a naphthol red. So you can see that he's got one very dull color and one very vibrant, very bright, high chroma color. And then for his yellow, at least, you know, mythologically, or, you know, he's using a very dirty version of yellow, which is a yellow ochre, right? So you can already see the difference looking at these two palettes, one above the other. Like this is so much less chroma except for the red, right? So I'm just going to take, let me grab a brush. I'm going to take some of that yellow ochre towards there. I'm going to take some of this yellow ochre towards my red. Wipe my brush as clean as I can get it. And let's bring some of that red back up. So we know that red plus yellow equals orange, but we also know that this is a very dirty brown version of yellow, so it's not going to be a very vibrant orange. Still beautiful though.
Yeah, I like that.
Wiping my brush, wiping my brush, wiping my brush. Let's take some of this yellow ochre towards the black. Again, I think he uses Mars black and I don't have any. So what should happen when I mix my blue plus my yellow?
A dark green.
Dark green. Not very green.
Nope.
Add a little more of that yellow. So black seems to be, but it's really not green.
Nope.
So already doing this color wheel, I kind of go, okay, I can get orangish. I don't really get yellow. I can see what happens when I add white to this. If it becomes yellower. And then this again, this black is substituting my blue. So I should get a purple in here, but I already know that's not going to happen.
What if you did the same color wheel only using Payne's gray?
Yeah, I bet you would be much more. Let's try that as one of our experiments on the side. So yeah, there's beauty in this, but no green, no purple. So there's this harmony within this, but mostly what I get is reddish, yellow ochre-ish, and darks.
That'd be
So
pretty fall
let's-
painting,
What's that?
pretty autumn painting.
Yeah, sure is. So yeah, I urge you guys to go and look at his palette. But what amazes me is, again, let me grab my palette knife so I'm not contaminating my white. Watch what happens even with just this black, which is a much purer black. Let's put it near that red. So that's grayed down black, right?
Mhm.
You see how all of a sudden bluish it begins to feel? Again, not like a true blue, but all colors are relative. And that's what's so important in today's class. Let's try Payne's gray. I'm going to do the same thing just on the line here. So we know that this was a ivory black, which probably wasn't my best choice, but the color I have. I'm just going to put Payne's gray in the middle and go out with it. Use the red on this side. That definitely helped. Like this definitely has more purple than this does.
Mhm.
Let's clean that brush. Let's go to our yellow ochre on the other side. Let's see, hopefully it gets a little bit greener feeling. It's not very green. I may have had a dirty brush with a little bit of red in it, but really not very green. So this wouldn't be a great palette for greens. Now let's see what happens if I mix all three colors together. I'm going to use the Payne's gray though. And I just like to do this just to test the transparency. Like how much scrubbing does it take till I can start to see the line beneath it? So it's a lot. And then retest that and say what happens if I add white to it. So these are just quick little tests that I can kind of do to test, like if I use these colors, here's some of my iterations, here's some of my opportunities. You know, I want to take note. Yeah, if I'm trying to paint a green painting, this is probably not the palette for me. But I could see a lot of beauty in this, a lot of harmony in this, but not that, you know, I'm not going to have greens. I'm not going to have purples. All right, let's try one more color palette real quickly here. This is one of my versions. Oops, I already contaminated that. Get that out of there. This is one of my versions of it, which is going to be Indian yellow. Man, pretty dirty. Let me see if I can't get a cleaner pile of Indian yellow on there. There we go. So Indian yellow is my yellow. Instead of a red, I'm going to use a brown. For anybody that's been in my class, you've probably seen me do versions of this. So that is a transparent earth red. Now I can ask you guys, would you rather see me use Payne's gray or ultramarine blue as my blue?
Payne's gray.
All right. So it's going to kill the colors even more. Actually, I'm going to change my mind. I'm going to use ultramarine blue.
Okay.
Just so we can get green-ish. With the ultramarine, it's going to be harder to get greenish. So that's a very interesting palette. This is one I kind of come up with on my own over the last number of years. I love playing with. I love these as my undercolors for my paintings. So let's take this Indian yellow and bring it down. Look how warm it gets. You can see how much red is in that Indian yellow.
Love that color.
All right. Let's bring our transparent earth red. This is where I get some of my favorite color combinations, is right in here. Oh, makes me so happy. All right, let me grab a clean brush. Grabbing the blue, ultramarine blue, which we know again has a little bit of red. So you're going to want to learn, you know, the more you paint, the more you'll learn. The less colors you learn, the easier it is to learn the colors you're using. Ultramarine, again, if I use like a manganese blue that leans towards green, this would get more vibrant. But I'm using an ultramarine, which has a touch of red in it, which red already is the opposite of green. So that green that I'm going to make, hopefully, is not going to be very vibrant. Right? Can you see it's green-ish?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's green adjacent.
Yeah.
But green it is not. Nobody's like, yep, that's really green. All right, so again, we're trying to mix a purple here normally, typically, where our reds and our blues meet. Again, our blue leans towards purple, so it should be good, but we have a brown up here instead, which obviously means it has some yellow. Browns typically have red, yellow, and blue mixed into their mixture. So knowing that, I already know we're not going to make purple. Anybody want to guess what we're going to make? Besides a mess?
A good shadow.
Yeah, we're going to make a transparent dark. Again, because this red has yellow in it already, we've just mixed a super dark color. So that's what I love about this palette, is it makes darks. I'm going to try to mix kind of a neutral here. Quite good. That's really a good neutral dark, right? I mixed a pretty good amount of each color just to neutralize that. Let's grab some of the brown. And you can see, well, can you see that? It's pretty dark. Maybe I need to wipe it down just a touch so there's a little more transparency to it. Can you see that it's warmer?
Yes.
Yeah.
Slight.
Grab
Yeah.
ultramarine on the other side.
So on the right side, you test black and white, Michael?
There's no white in this yet.
No, I mean on each row, is it like dark and white?
I mean, what is the logic for each row?
Oh, I'm just checking its transparency. So here I can even, let me grab a clean paper towel. But what I'm doing is saying I can make this really dark, mid-value dark, or just kind of a neutral dark. And it gets quite a bit warmer when I add more of the earth red, and quite a bit cooler when I add more of the ultramarine, which is really useful in my shadows because I don't want just black in my shadows typically. I want to look for the warmer areas, the cooler areas. Just going to grab a little bit of that neutral again. Let's add some white to that now.
Michael, on that top row,
Yep.
can you add Indian yellow across the top and see what adding Indian yellow does to that band?
Sure, that's a great idea. So there we are with white added, and we can get a little, cooler blue towards the neutral, and let's add a little more brown so it's a little more obvious. Add a little more white. I find just so much beauty in these subtle transitions of temperature. Like that's where I think of a lot of I'm gonna have to move the camera back a little bit. In a lot of these transitions. So on the top, I'm just doing transparency where I'm not adding white. And then on the bottom bands, I'm adding white to show what happens, because I like to, again, think of, I've got two ways to lighten a color. I can make it more transparent, literally my paper towel, which will keep its vibrancy.
Mhm.
If I add white to it, it dulls it down, but it can still be very effective, very interesting, especially when we're dealing with atmosphere or perspective or weather. So was that here, the Indian
Yep.
yellow that you wanted?
Yes.
All right, let me clean a brush. If I was a good editor, I'd go back through and re-edit these for all the time I spend cleaning brushes. But I'm just dipping it in paint thinner. I'm just pinching, pulling away from the ferrule up towards the top. And I'll just keep doing that until I don't get color coming off the brush.
I have a question.
Please.
Sometimes this is like really basic, but as I'm looking at this, I'm getting a little bit confused about temperature as opposed to value and some of the other characteristics. So temperature in particular, I don't know. Sometimes I get confused about that.
So color, temperature versus value?
I think so. Maybe. I'm not sure. I just sometimes temperature is the cooler or warmer, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. It's early.
And then what's the yeah, no, that's fine. And it's confusing, especially again, because I'm just going to keep reiterating throughout the day that color is relative. So
And
this
then,
is Payne's gray and Indian yellow.
and then the other side of that was value is the chroma of it, or
No,
okay,
value is the light and dark.
light and dark, as
Yeah,
opposed
and
to cool and
chroma is the strength of the color.
okay.
So think of it as saturation. So all these colors on the outside are at their strongest chroma, that their strongest saturation right out of the tube.
Okay.
As soon as we mix any two colors together, they begin to desaturate a little bit. They begin to lose their chroma, right? So this Payne's gray is its strongest chroma here. The Indian yellow is its strongest color here. As they begin to meet, we begin to lose saturation. We begin to lose chroma. So again, yeah, that's a great way of thinking about it is if I want to be a high color painter, I really like a lot of color in my paintings, then I probably don't want to desaturate, meaning I don't want to overly mix colors. A lot of times your highest chroma colors are colors next to each other. But as soon as you mix across the color wheel, you definitely begin to desaturate. I'm going to do one more Indian yellow test, this time with the red, or in this case, the transparent earth red.
Is it the red oxide, Mike, or is it a different color?
What's the question?
Is it the red oxide? Which color did you use right now?
That was Indian yellow. And here comes the transparent earth red.
Oh, transparent. Okay. So it's different than the red oxide, right?
No, I believe that's brand dependent.
Okay.
So yeah, I love like these greens. I love these browny golds and reds. So this is like one of my favorite little mischievous color palettes. And so I guess what I'm going to invite you guys to do for your homework this week is to, you might want to do a couple different color wheels and try some different things. And we're going to do a couple more really experimental ones after this. But these are my three biggest go-tos, right? Actually, my biggest go-to is my split primary palette, because then I can make beautiful purples, because I've got a red that leans towards purple, which is my quinacridone red. Here, let me show you. And please, please, please ask a lot of questions. I know this is confusing. So this palette here is the same as this palette. One yellow, one blue, one red. Cadmium red medium, cadmium yellow light, and ultramarine, right? So you can see I could still make a pretty good green on here. Adding a little white to it makes it a little more relevant. My purple is hideous. I could make a pretty great orange, right? But if I wanted purple, I needed to create a new palette. Or if I wanted to create spring greens. So all of a sudden, having two blues, two yellows, two reds, one blue that leans towards purple, one blue that leans towards green, one yellow that leans towards green, one yellow that leans towards orange, one red that leans towards orange, and one red that leans towards purple. All of a sudden, I could get this much more, it's on a gray palette, so it's a little bit hard to see, but I can get much more vibrant colors. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I want to keep it simple, but I also want more variety. So that's why I generally paint with this. And then again, I can have guest colors, right? I can have Payne's gray, I could have transparent earth red, I could have Indian yellow, I could have whatever color I want as a guest. But because I paint with these 6 colors so often, I understand what's going to happen when I mix them. And I'm only usually inviting 1, maybe 2 guests at a time. And it just makes painting, it's like if somebody walked into your kitchen and said, oh, I see you're making stew, and you're good with salt and pepper and maybe a touch of paprika, but here's 27 new ingredients, right? For one, it's probably going to taste horrible, but if it worked out, you would never know how to make it again, right?
Right.
So as a cook, I want you to have pepper, maybe a touch of, some kind of spice and some salt, right? Get these down, understand these. And then introduce a couple more ingredients. And eventually you can have like we do, a whole bunch of herbs going bad, herbs and spices just going bad in your cabinet because you have to own them all. All right, here's the Zorn palette, right? So if I was to show this to a new painter, be like, that's ridiculous. What color? I can't paint a pumpkin patch. I can't paint, trees. I can't paint, but you can still do a lot. And it's kind of amazing. I don't have any Zorn paintings in here. In fact, I've sold them all. So people do like them. They're very muted, very harmonious, and you'll be amazed, especially when you bring white in and all of a sudden this becomes more bluish looking. This is a CMYK palette. So this is closer to what your printer is doing. I keep thinking I'm going to use this palette to paint, but I'm terrified. These colors are so bright and cartoonish, and they make just the most, I mean, look what happens when you add white to them. Makes a smiley face. It's just beautiful. So for, you know, Regini, who's so good at color, I could just see you going crazy with this. I know there's a couple others of you in the class that even though you're in my tonalist class, you really are colorists and you're so good at it. This, I mean, you can do so much with these colors. I'm afraid I don't have them laid out in front of me what these are, but this is the quinacridone magenta. This is Hansa yellow light, and I'm not positive what blue I chose for that. Oh, cobalt teal.
Oh.
Gorgeous color, but
Yeah.
and what's amazing is cobalt teal becomes bluer when you add red to it.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
So there's some really interesting things that happen. So colors are very strange. Like we always say, oh, you can't mix a primary color, but in fact, that's bluer than that by adding red to it. So it's so interesting. I love this kind of stuff. I really geek out on it. I love, like, I was so excited. I told my wife this morning, like, I'm excited. I can't wait to just play with color and make these charts that, again, I don't know if they'll make sense to anybody else, but it's a ton of fun for me. Any questions on these kind of ugly charts?
Michael, I have a question.
Yeah.
So what was that red just now you showed? Is it quinacridone violet? Not
Ooh, oh, the one I just showed you? Yeah. Quinacridone magenta, I believe.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
But I think violet would work.
Okay.
But I went with magenta because that's the M in CMYK, right?
Uh-huh.
All right. So here's where I want to show you guys how I would experiment. If I was going to play with some colors, you know, and just, again, keeping this theory of, I just want one yellowish, one reddish, one bluish color. You know, what might I try? I've showed you my earthy one. I've showed you Zorn's palette. I showed you my kind of most basic palette that I started when I painted with. Talked about using maybe, you know, a cobalt blue versus the ultramarine blue to give yourself more options. But let's just get crazy a little bit. Let's try something. So as the class was just starting to show up, I asked people for some suggestions, and Linda Camarada hates me, so she suggested phthalo green. Phthalo green is my blue. Right?
Make class hard. I wanted to make it hard for you.
And was it quinacridone magenta that you said?
Yes.
As my red. So these are going to get really interesting.
Whoa.
Oh, maybe I could have. Well, and then our yellow, you said ochre, but I was thinking that might be too dirty, but we could try it. Otherwise, I was thinking the like a Hansa yellow light.
Okay.
And that just depends. Like, do I want it earthier, or do I want to give myself more, you know, opportunity to experiment? So let's see if I can find a clean brush already.
What is the blue?
Let me show you my palette already and all the paints I've got out.
What is the blue you put up there?
Cadmium green, or phthalo green.
Phthalo green. Okay.
So we're gonna have no blue. Another trick I have found for those of you writing notes, or for people who get themselves in a lot of trouble, is I can use, you know, like I said, white would be my next color that I'll add. But also there's times where I'll use a chromatic black or an ivory black. And that allows, like, if I can't get a dark color, because sometimes I choose colors where there's no dark, right? I just can't make a dark because I've used too light of a blue or, you know, a grayish blue. And anyway, so let's just put these out there. So I got my cadmium green. Let me see if I can keep these brushes a little more separated so I don't have to clean so much. Got my Hansa yellow light. Don't know why I'm starting on the bottom of this page, but and when I'm doing this, when I'm kind of loading up and then just moving the brush down, I'm just letting it just the paint rub off so that I just have less and less yellow as I get to those greens. We're gonna make beautiful, beautiful greens. If I was painting a spring scene, you know, with just new growth, I could already see compared to anything else that we just did. Right? Look at that green compared to anything else we just made.
Mm-hmm.
So I can pick my colors accordingly. And there's no rule that 3 color, you know, 1 red, yellow, 1 yellow, 1 blue is the best way to do it. But what it is a super fun challenge. And it really just forces your paintings to become harmonious. All right. So we've got quinacridone magenta, which is a more bluish red, right? So as I go up towards my oranges, I have instinctually think, or at least believe, that I'm not going to make a vibrant orange because this red that I put out there has a bit of blue, right?
Yeah.
So my blue has a bit of yellow, which is across the color wheel when I try to make a purple. So what's going to happen when this magenta and this phthalo green meet? Besides an argument.
It will be dark black.
Yeah, black. It's going to be a beautiful, transparent dark. And the truth is, chromatic black is phthalo green and quinacridone red.
Whoa,
Boom. Gorgeous black.
I love it.
Very transparent. Can really use it to, you know, again, go to the warmer darks, the cooler. It's just fantastic.
I think Danish Shaheen use always this combination.
Almost, yeah. I think he uses an earth red.
Yeah, earth red and the phthalo green.
Yeah, he does use phthalo green as his undercolor.
Who does that?
Danish Shaheen.
He's a tonalist. I
Yeah,
love
I
it.
was gonna do his palette, but I could never find it besides his underpainting color. And then after that, he uses kind of I mean, it looked like there's like 10 or 12 colors he uses.
Which red does he use for the basic one?
Transparent earth red.
Thank
Or
you.
an oxide brown.
Yeah.
No, that's quinacridone magenta in this one.
Oh, in this one, yeah.
No, I was asking for Sheehan.
Oh, okay.
I believe it's a transparent earth red.
Yeah.
So I decontaminated my yellow, so I'm just gonna wipe that off. Just a touch. Yellow is such a weak color, especially the transparent yellows like Hansa, that just getting a little bit of red. I'm just gonna even use the new brush again. It's a beautiful color wheel. Besides, again, we have no purple. Shall we see what happens when we add white to this? Dark?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Who thinks they know what's going to happen?
Gray.
It's a
Gray,
gray.
yeah.
Gray. A
That's
beautiful
right,
gray that
gray.
you can add either more yellow or more red to.
Ooh, I have an idea.
Okay.
Let's do as neutralized as a dark as I can do with these two colors. I'm going to put that in the middle, just like we did before. Add a little bit of red to this side. And a little bit of green to the other side. And then I'm going to add my white, and that's just a great way to test our grays.
Yeah.
So I'm going to start with my green side because I've already got a dirty brush.
Ooh.
Oh, such a gorgeous color.
Wow.
Phthalo green with white is just something special. It's a color I don't use very much, but boy,
It looks like an
sometimes
ocean.
it's the only color that'll do it for you.
It looks like a tropical ocean.
Yeah.
Amen. Yeah.
Or it looks like the blue-green shrub in the desert.
Of what? Shroud in the desert?
Yeah.
Gorgeous colors. I mean,
Wow, I love it.
Yeah. That's a nice purple, actually. Nice
Yeah.
lavender.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
yeah, maybe I'm just shooting myself in the foot with all these stupid earthy colors that I keep using. Maybe I just hate making money. These are beautiful.
It's
That looks like a Regini palette.
oh my God, that's hysterical. That's I love that. Oh,
Beautiful it is.
All right. Well, turns out that Linda doesn't hate me.
I do.
Maybe just opened my eyes to a new reality, but tonalism, this is not.
That's Regini.
Beautiful, but literally, okay, let's just take a quick minute. What if Linda really did hate me and really wanted to challenge me and said, Michael, I want you to do a tonalist painting with these three colors. Do you think I could do it?
Yes.
Yeah.
And a
All
flag.
right. How would I do it? Linda, you start because you're the meanest.
Okay. You would use like this great the line you have with the color. You can add either more red or more yellow and a touch of white to get earth tones if you wanted to do a landscape. And you could use white to get clouds and shadows, even light colors in the clouds. You could almost the real bright blue. If you put a speck of yellow with that and a lot of white, you have light cloud color shapes. And then you could use the blue and the green and more red in it to get different greens. Oh,
All right.
you
Linda
just
gets the gold star so far. That was perfect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix a pile. But this time, because this is the red and blue mixed, but what happens if I bring in the yellow? Right? I'm creating across the color wheel, so it should neutralize, correct?
Yeah.
In theory. Very earthy.
Michael, you're a good teacher.
You're a mean student, so thank you. I'm going to take one side, like Linda said, I'm going to bring it towards red a little more towards those from those darks. I'm going to take the other side towards yellow because we already got the green so nicely. Ooh, I can see it. Look at this brown.
Woohoo! Woohoo! I get excited about color, Michael.
Yeah, that's nice.
Right. Let's take our paper towel, clean one, and let's wipe off the bottom half. And let's just see, because these are all semi-transparent or transparent colors too. So we haven't even used that. Let's see what happens.
Wow.
Ooh, oh, I love the earthiness.
Right. Let's try white. Getting messy because I'm not really cleaning my brushes, but I'm definitely getting, I mean, imagine from this to this.
Right.
And it's all the same colors. You know, I could really play it up. I could, let's push these yellows on this side.
Mm.
Reds on this side.
Starting to look like that gold green on the right.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to mix yellow into this just here, just to see, because but that's unfortunately, I always think I'm going to make these beautiful color wheels and diagrams, but then I just go, oh, what if, you know, and not following the rules.
What if it's good?
Yeah, it's better that I learn than have a beautiful diagram that I'll never show anybody, and anybody I ever showed would have no idea why I'm showing it to them. Now all of a sudden it looks like a rustic old blanket.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
like Native American, and just those
Yep.
gorgeous earth colors and those natural dyes. And we got that from this, which was capable of this and can now do that.
Crazy.
Who's excited? I am. Okay,
Yeah.
that's pretty cool. All right, so let's try another mean student's color. You know who you are, Hassan. Hassan has been talking on and on about a crazy color called green gold, right? So what if I take green gold and use that as my yellow?
Ooh.
Have you ever thought of that, Hassan?
Oh,
How do you use your green gold so far?
Yeah, I usually like either make it I mix with white to make it lighter, or make blue to make it darker, and sometimes tone it down a bit.
Perfect.
But
So what color red would you use with that, Hassan? If that's
so
the
red
yellow.
would be, so if this is a yellow, yeah, red would be probably like cadmium red or alizarin crimson maybe. You might want to mix a
Why,
tiny bit
why
of
not vibrant, brilliant pink?
Oh, wow. Oh, that's going to be interesting.
And what's your blue?
that would be what do you call it? Sorry, my mind is not working. the regular blue, we have ultramarine blue.
Ultramarine, yeah.
Ultramarine is a good choice. Yes. So just to show you before we squeeze these out, we've got our dab up there of the
Bingo.
green gold. So let's just try and experiment, Hassan, and everybody, because it's a gorgeous color. It does really interesting things. I've been having fun time using it the last couple days.
And
But
is
I
that,
was so curious, and as I say, whenever I get a new color, I try to figure out, can I make it or a close enough iteration? So there I squeezed out Indian yellow. And the first time I tried it, I was thinking, well, it's kind of reddish. So that led me to think, you know, ultramarine blue would be good.
Mike, can you mix a tiny bit of yellow with green gold? Because that's probably when the color shines with
Yeah. So there's my green gold.
is that cadmium red medium? In the three,
No, that's that vibrant pink you put out.
Oh, vibrant pink, yeah, which is a color by Michael Harding. It's called Brilliant Pink, actually. So this is a great green, very dark. Let's add a little more Indian yellow and just see if we can get it close. But the truth is, I just never got it close. Let me bring this green down so we can put them side by side. Right, so that wasn't a close approximation. I do like this color. I use it a lot in pine trees and forests and moss and things like that. So it's a great color, but it's not the same as green gold. So what other blue do I use quite typically?
Your
Okay.
manganese.
Manganese.
Manganese blue. So let me squeeze out a touch of that, which I was curious about because it's my blue that leans towards green. It is lighter, you know, the ultramarine is much darker than the manganese, just as you know, squeeze it out. If you're to squint your eyes, the value is much lighter. So I'm just going to take a little bit of my manganese blue, take some of this Indian yellow, mix them together. So I'm going to put that on this side. Looks like a little yellower still.
Yeah, that's very close.
Yeah, it is close.
Spot on.
Let's bring it down. So it still looks like this could be yellower. So let's try a little yellower. Now it's really close. So I'm going to spread it out so we can see what it looks like in its transparency. Cleaning my knife, bringing down the.
Wow.
Wow.
Oh,
It's
that's perfect.
Mhm.
nice.
Interesting. Maybe I could even just add a touch, just a touch of red. Let's see. This is an experiment. I haven't added just a touch of red into that.
My George, I think
Yeah, that's better.
that's better. Oh, that's.
I don't think,
fun.
I think where they meet, we're not even going to be able to know.
Ooh,
Right.
Yeah, no, that is very close.
What color red were you using there?
Probably Vermilion. I just
Oh.
had 3 reds up here, so I think I just reached into the bottom one. Vermilion's, I believe, a semi-transparent. I don't use. Oh no, Naphthol red light. I think.
Maybe a touch of the transparent red oxide.
I wonder. Yeah, it'd get a little browner, but anyways,
Oh,
you know
yeah.
what I mean. It's so
Pretty
close. So I was kind of thrilled, but I still love this color.
Hmm.
You know, and owning a tube of color is not bad as long as I understand how's it going to play with my other colors. So by learning that I can make it based on colors that are almost always on my palette, Indian yellow is almost always on there, and manganese blue hue is almost always on there. So even when I grab it, because it's a gorgeous color, it's a wonderful shortcut color, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
But now I know how it's going to play with my other colors.
Michael, would you mind adding a little bit of white on both pile and see how?
Good idea. Good idea.
that's the true test. Huh?
Yeah.
True test. So this is my mixture. Woo, that's pretty.
That is
That-
so gorgeous.
That is gorgeous. Yeah.
Ooh, ooh, ooh.
All right, clean that off. Yeah, I think that little bit of red I added right at the end kind of took it to a redder side.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's.
But they're both beautiful. I
They're
mean,
both gorgeous.
When I look at those colors mixed together, I think of tonalism paintings. I really do.
there you go.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be a beautiful sky? Mm-mm-mm. And then the trees.
Mm.
When I
All right.
I mix green, like I usually mix with yellow and blue, and sometimes when I need to pop, I just mix a tiny bit of this green gold, and yeah, that actually like does the job.
Yeah, here's what I'm scared of. What happens when I mix pink and green?
Oh,
Oh,
dance.
All right, so green is our yellow. It's the worst yellow ever, Hassan. Why'd you make me do this?
look yellow.
All right, pink is our red. And we decided ultramarine is our blue. That way, this will allow us to get some darks too. All right, grab a brush. I'm gonna take that pink up into the green.
Mm.
There's something unexpected.
Take
Beautiful. That's gorgeous.
Like
Take
burnt
this
sienna.
pink to our blue.
Yeah.
Look at that beautiful purple.
Ooh.
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
That's
All
amazing.
right.
Yeah.
And now the big test, huh? What happens when we take our blue to our green? I feel like that blue is so much stronger than that green.
Right.
But what I think is going to be fun, I'm just taking that mid green there and I'm just going to scrub it out just so I can see what it does in transparency. Oops, sorry. Did not use a very clean brush. I can see the pink coming through. I'm just going to grab a little pink thinner. Wipe that back off. Now let's try a retest. So many brushes on the table that I don't know which one I just was using. All right, new brush. Mix blue, green. I'm going to mix more green because we already know that the green is so weak. So blue as we scrub out that green.
Oh, I like those greens.
Oh, isn't that nice?
Mhm.
So in transparency, it's fantastic.
Wow.
Let's try it in with white. Pretty
Yeah.
nice.
Oh, I
Definitely
like that.
cools it down with adding that white.
Mm.
That's why I want you guys to think that white is not enough to lighten a color. It definitely cools down the color anytime you add white for the most part. Some colors really come alive once you've added a touch of light to them. All right, now let's get to the exciting part, right? That's that pink and yellow. I'm gonna start pink on one side. And when I say yellow, you guys know what I mean.
Green.
Green.
Oops. Thinking. Oh, that's sweet.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Very vibrant. Let's add white to that. I have to find some more green somewhere on here to. So fun. So what I don't end up with is yellow. So I have an idea though. Hassan, what do you think I could do to make any of these colors appear more yellow?
Just mix white with green gold. That will be
Yes, perfect.
sticky. Yeah.
Stop talking, you nailed it. Let's see. So I'm going to do this one on the bottom. So I'm just going to use straight green gold in this experiment.
The green gold reminds me of the Indian yellow. When you add white to it, you don't get the color you expect.
Right. Yeah. So we can see as I spread it out, you grab my last of my clean brushes. Where did I put the green gold? Okay. So we got our green gold. Just going to take it across and then I'm going to scrub it out to make it thin. It's already getting that gold aspect of it's coming out now. See that?
Yeah.
So that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Really interesting. I'm cleaning the brush a little bit. I'm gonna grab some white and come back from my gold side.
Yeah.
Interesting. So when you're looking at all these, you wouldn't say, yeah, that's yellow, but it's by far and away the yellowest color. So I
Yeah.
can see that I've got a lot of possibility in these this very odd color palette.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to do one last quick test, and I'm just gonna grab all three colors, which means I need to squeeze out more green gold. The only problem is green gold is a weak color. Oh, I've got some down here. I'm burning through it really fast. So there I mixed the pink, the blue. I just want to see, can I make a dark out of these colors? Because I would almost instinctually say no. We're going to ignore that it's not in the same parameters and putting it down here. Oh yeah, that's really dark.
Mm-hmm.
So that's interesting. Even with that vibrant pink, I can still make. Ooh, man,
Yes.
who would have guessed? What a
Yeah.
weird palette.
Whoa.
White to that.
Like-
That's a good black.
Mm-hmm.
Nice gray.
Beautiful, right? Oh, so they-
Isn't that wild? I would not have guessed we could make a dark with these three colors.
Wow.
That would make
Oh.
a really beautiful sunrise painting, toneless sunrise painting. That
Right.
color.
Let's bring our pink and see when does the pink affect that darkness.
Oh,
Wow.
You know what else makes a beautiful pink is transparent earth red.
Transparent what?
Earth red.
Sure does. Okay, well, I'm ready for a break, even though I haven't done my last color, unless you guys have a quick one, but I imagine you guys are ready for a break as well.
Okay.
And then I can either do a quick painting demo. I'm kind of thinking maybe this color palette.
That'd be fun.
That would
yeah,
be
that would be fun.
Yeah, do you guys want to see me start one from scratch or go over? I've got one that's kind of in progress here. Actually, I have two. I have the one from last week. I have this, which would be a bunch of Queen Anne's lace and that.
Quick question, Michael.
No,
How did
these
you?
colors, I don't know if these colors would work on that or not.
Whoa, that would be beautiful.
Hmm,
That's interesting.
would.
Mm-hmm.
Those
Or
are
I
all
could just start
transparent
one from
colors, aren't they?
scratch. What was that?
Aren't those all transparent colors?
Yeah.
Yeah, that won't work. You pretty much need to start from scratch, I would think.
I would start from scratch.
All right. Crazy. All right. Well, let's take a 10-minute break.
Okay, let's.
Let me go tell my wife how mean my students are, and we'll be back. That was a ton of fun, you guys. Thank you for letting me do that. The whole point being that, you know, you can create beautiful harmonies even out of some of the craziest colors, and you're not going to get exact, but you can really, like you guys are saying, oh, I can see a tonalist painting in there. Oh, I can see a tonalist painting in there. Even out of ultra, you know, vibrant, dare I say, garish colors, you can still really harmonize them and make some beautiful things. So I'll be curious to continue this conversation as we come back and just see what you guys think about this as an assignment for this week going forward, either doing these color wheels or doing some paintings, experimenting, just using a reddish, a yellowish, and a bluish color. I think it'll be a lot of fun too to compare notes when we get back next week and just say, yep, that didn't work. Yep, that was amazing. Or what I would do different, or, you know, so experimenting is the name of the game. And the great thing is that you almost naturally get an innate harmony in the piece just by, you know, taking your three colors creating that mother color or that pop color or that octopusing color, whatever you want to say. And then really you can push the boundaries as far as the colors will go. All right, ready for a break?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, it is 10:53. I'll see you at 11:03.